Big thanks to MPB for sponsoring this week's video.
So 10 episodes into my Tiny Camera series, and I like to think of this as season 1, and this is my season finale. Here is a definitive ranking of the last 10 tiny cameras that I've reviewed for your viewing pleasure. I've ranked them all on certain criteria like usability, price, features, etc. And also just a wishy-washy category that's, does it spark joy? Because that's very important in your everyday carry camera. So without further ado, let's get in at number 10. Number 10, the DxO1. It's such a silly little camera. It's very, very tiny, but it is a little bit gimmicky. We have a tiny little screen on the back for us to compose, but aside from that, you're on your own. You can't even choose your focus point unless you connect it to your phone. However, it does have a really cool feature called Super RAW, which aside from it being named a really silly thing, gives it really good low light performance because it works with the DxO noise reduction technology. It's great, but it's weird and it's a little bit too unconventional for my tiny camera needs. I'm glad I own it, but it's not the one that I would recommend first. In fact, it's the one I would recommend 10th. So here are the points. My very, very scientific points system. I would say buy the DxO1 if you like weird cameras, are a collector, or want something that isn't too serious. Bonus points because it does do incredible time lapses as well. Aside from that, it's a little bit weird. Number 9, the Olympus PL6. I think this is an absolutely gorgeous camera and it has a lot going for it, like an articulating screen, a really nice grip. It's very, very pretty. It feels very, very nice when you shoot and it's very nice to use. However, it's a little bit dated compared to some of the other cameras and certainly some of the Olympus cameras that are in this lineup. It is one that I wouldn't reach for first and foremost if I had other things available, though it is very fun to use. As I mentioned in my full review, there's a full review of every camera in this list, check it out after this video. There are a few eccentricities with this camera that make it a little bit hard for me to get on board with. For instance, the touchscreen only works for certain scenarios and not others, like you can't navigate the menu with it, and the time-lapse feature only allows you to take up to 99 photos, which gives you about a 2.5 second time-lapse, which is practically useless. I love it for if you shoot in aperture or shutter speed priority, but beyond that, I think there are better options available. Here are my scores. It lost out a little bit on usability in my opinion. I think you should buy the PL6 if you like the Olympus ecosystem, if you want a very affordable camera, and you do like that it has certain funky colours as well. If I'm getting progressively messier and sweatier throughout this video, I apologise. It's like the hottest day of the year in England. I'm dying. Anyway, things I do for you. The things I do for you. In at number 8, we have the G100. I have waxed lyrical about this camera many times, so I shan't linger on it too much. It is, in my opinion, the jack of all trades, master of none. But it does work very well for everyday carry and street photography in particular, in my opinion, because you have a very good grip. It is very, very light. It's very blooming plastic fantastic. I've already smashed the bottom. Just by taking it on and off a tripod, I've got all cracks down the bottom, which is really annoying. But it does have an EVF and you can get them at a pretty good price nowadays. So what do I mean about jack of all trades, master of none? Well, it's got a mic input, so it's great for video features, right? Well, it doesn't have IBIS and it only has a 10-minute 4K recording limit. It's great for photography. It has the newer 20 megapixel sensor, but it has an electronic shutter after only 500th of a second. So we have pros and cons, but it does work for me as a good all-rounder. And if you can find it at a good price, it's not bad. That was a terrible glowing recommendation, wasn't it? You can find it cheap, it's alright. I would say the build quality is probably the worst of all the cameras I've reviewed in the history of cameras. It does feel exceptionally plasticky, and as I have mentioned, I have got cracks at the bottom already. The doors feel flimsy. I would say buy the G100 if you would like to dabble with video, but also primarily use it for photography. Or if you want an EVF on a budget. In at number 7, we have the Ricoh GR3X, which is a street photographer's dream. We have a fixed 40mm equivalent focal length. It is the most expensive camera on this list and also the largest sensor on this list with an APS-C sensor. I enjoyed that camera very much. I found it very user-friendly. I could just get up and running with it straight away. It was very intuitive. I like the build quality, but I think it's criminal that there is no weather sealing at the price point, because the price point is like sky high. You could probably buy the last few cameras that I've talked about and have some change for the price of this Ricoh. Now, there are many people who swear by the Ricoh, and I really do like it. But I think for my everyday carry camera philosophy, which I talk about on this channel, I do like the versatility of having the ability to change lenses, and having a fixed 40mm focal length means it's very, very good at one thing and less versatile in other ways. Here are the scopes. I would buy the Ricoh if you are a street photography enthusiast who adores the 40mm focal length and maybe has a little bit of money to burn and wants a camera that does something very, 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 very well, but only does one thing very, very well. In at number 6, we have the Lumix LX100 Mark II, which is very similar to the Ricoh in the sense that it's very, very expensive. I think it's the second most expensive camera on this list. It falls into the trappings of the Ricoh in a very similar way, where we don't have weather sealing at that price point, which really annoys me. The reason I ranked it slightly higher than the Ricoh is it does have a lens that you can't take off, but it is a zoom lens rather than a prime lens, so it's a lot more versatile for the price. You could take this camera in most scenarios, providing it isn't raining, and then you know you've got a versatile, really high quality lens that will just do. Here are the scores. I would say buy the LX100 Mark II if you can't be fussed buying loads of different lenses and just want something that works out of the box and is very versatile. Though do be aware it is a little bit of a pricier one. In at number 5, we have the Pentax QS1. Now, I'm laughing thinking that people in the comments are going to kill me because I've ranked this higher than the Ricoh. I'm sorry, Ricoh evangelists. I do like the Ricoh camera, but there is just something so charming about the Pentax Q. And it's my list, so I make the rules. The Pentax Q is a collector's item. It is its own mount, so the Micro Four Thirds lenses won't fit. You need to buy specific Pentax Q lenses. And there is a really comprehensive range, and they're all numbered 1 to 8. And you can buy prime lenses, zoom lenses, the lot, and it works with this camera. They are absolutely gorgeous, and you can buy these either very cheaply for your basic black ones, or quite expensive depending on the colour variant that you want. So it could be a bargain, it could be a collector's item for you, whichever you prefer. Now this is the smallest sensor on the list by a mile. It's an absolutely dinky CMOS sensor, so it's not going to be great in low light, but I just think for the portability, the colour variations, and just the sheer joy, it does spark joy. It does spark joy. So I would buy this if you are willing to invest in a new camera ecosystem. So it is quite an expensive thing to get into if you want all the lenses. You can pick some up dead cheap, some are a little bit more hard to find, and you don't have the versatility as you do with the Micro Four Thirds. So if you bought a GX800, you could then buy a PL6 and know that all of your lenses would work interchangeably. With this one, it's just for the one camera, so you've got to really love it to invest in it. Thanks so much to MPB for sponsoring this video. I use MPB all the time for my tiny camera wants and needs, and you should definitely check them out too if anything in this video has caught your eye. They're an international platform. They have offices in America, EU, and the UK, and they are the biggest online platform in the world for buying, selling, and trading your used camera equipment. Everything you buy comes with a 6-month warranty, and I have to say their customer service is absolutely amazing. The deliveries are always really well scheduled. I get them a lot, I should know. So they always support creators like myself as well, which I cannot thank them enough for. So if you would like to support this channel and get yourself a bargain, definitely check them out in the description below. In at number 4, we have the delightful GX800, which is an absolute bargain. We have an articulated screen. It's just super user-friendly and great to just throw in your bag and go. It doesn't have IBIS, it doesn't have an EBF. It is sort of no frills, but I will say the touchscreen and the menus are very intuitive, and you do have time-lapse features and certain other things like bracketing and timer functions. You can get these pretty much dirt cheap. I think it's a great option for an everyday carry camera. Some people will be put off because it doesn't have the EVF and it doesn't have the IBIS, in which case there are many other options available. Here are the scores. Buy the GX800 if you want something that does the job, is cheap, and is no frills, and is fun. There. In at number 3, we have the delectable and sexy Olympus Pen F. I love this camera. It was my first ever Micro Four Thirds camera, and it's stunning. It is super duper pricey and is not weather sealed. And it is probably the biggest camera on this list as well. So while it is quite tiny, it is a little bit more chunky than the rest, so just keep that in mind. It's a very style-centric camera. You have very metal build quality, lovely dials, a very throwback design to some analog cameras. You do have an EVF, you do have IBIS, you do have a flippy screen, you don't have weather sealing, but it is a delightful camera. My reason for not putting it closer to the top, really, is you can buy other cameras very similarly spec'd or higher spec'd for cheaper. So the price really drags the Pen F down. It is a collector's item and it is super expensive to buy used even now, but it is a delight. Here are the scores. Buy the Pen F if you want a more expensive camera, if you really value style, and if you want something that's a little bit special. In at number 2, we have the teeny tiny GM1, which is the smallest Micro Four Thirds camera ever made. It is so light. So small. You could take this anywhere with you, particularly if you paired it with a small enough lens. Tiny, 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 beautiful. Spec-wise, it's very similar to the GX800. The GX800 is a little bit bigger and does have the articulating screen. It is, again, in the category of no frills, but I love that it is literally the smallest one that money can buy, which is always a benefit. And I do love all the gorgeous colours it comes with as well. I often just throw it in my bag and off I go. And I have found as well that even though this is smaller, very small, the back has a little rubber grip here and it is quite nice in the hand. It doesn't feel like it's uncomfortable to hold even though it's tiny. I love it. I love it. I love it. You should buy the GM1 if you want a piece of Micro Four Thirds history, you are swayed by interesting colours, and you do want genuinely the smallest camera in this system that money can buy. So on to number 1. Drum roll. The winner of the Tiny Camera Series Season 1 is the Olympus EM5. Are you shocked? I'm shocked. Right, let me explain. I've just talked all about the Pen F, and the EM5 is around 200 blooming quid. So you could buy 3 or 4 of these for the price of a Pen F. And it has a lot of the same features. We do have an EVF, we do have an articulating screen, we do have physical buttons, a magnesium alloy body, we do have IBIS, but hold on to your hats. The EM5 has weather sealing. Weather sealing. Not one of these cameras has weather sealing. Not the ones that are 5 times the price, not the ones that are the same price. The EM5 has weather sealing. And if you want a well-built, everyday carry camera that is small, very affordable, has all the things that you would like IBIS, touchscreen, EVF, metal build quality, nice physical tactile dials, the EM5 is the best bang for buck. 200 quid, I'm astounded. The only downside is it's a little bit older. This is the 2012 model, so you don't have the newer 20 megapixel Micro Four Thirds sensor like you do have in the G100 and you do have in the Pen F, but aside from that, stunning. Love it, love it, love it. It's such a stylish camera for the price, and it is my winner for Season 1. Every camera I've mentioned in this video has its own dedicated video, so if you would like to learn more, I'll link them all below, and let me know what you would like me to review next. And now I'm gonna go jump in the nearest river because it's the hottest day of the year, and I'm dying. Thank you so much for watching.